You are now listening to the Inner Circle Podcast Network.
Never die. 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 Never die.
Fuck you.
All right. It is Wednesday. It is 8:01 a.m. But before we get into today's podcast, I'd like to thank Jon Andersen's Thrive Body Transformation Program. Look, if you're trying to lose weight, get in shape, all that good stuff, you can reach out to Jon. He will help you, give you direction, and push you in a way where you're going to be able to help manage your life with clear and easy steps, programs that are designed for you. And you know what? You get hooked the fuck up at Jon Andersen's Thrive Body Transformation Program. CH Concrete, serving the San Francisco Bay Area. That is CH Concrete, serving the San Francisco Bay Area. No job too big, no job too small. Residential, commercial, does not matter. CH Concrete can help you. Just reach out to them and they'll take care of you. Sleep Terror Clothing, a dark occult brand that has beard oil. And you know what? My beard is thick and luscious and is taken care of by Leviathan Cross at sleepterrorclothing.com. Also, Official is a hip-hop inspired street brand coming from Tucson, Arizona. They are loyal to the soil. Use code AngryDad at checkout and you will get hooked the fuck up. Also, any order over 50 gets free shipping. So that's 25% off plus free shipping with orders over 50 at official.com. Thank you guys. And you know what? I have a special guest. I have Dr. Shawn Baker. And let me tell you something right now. He's an athlete. He trains, he eats, but you know what? He's inspired me to try something new, and I'm going to bring him in.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me. Welcome. Glad to be here.
I just want to touch a little bit on the Highland Games because I recently just had, not recently, probably a few months back, I had Matt Vincent on the show, and that was a great experience for me. But the thing is did you competing against Matt, like that high level Highland Games is most people don't, at least for the average person, they're not watching strength sports like that. But here in the Bay Area, we have the Highland Games in Pleasanton. They happen every year. And even Thor came out once, and I never had an opportunity or chance to see if Matt ever came out this way. But have you ever competed out here in the Highland Games in California?
Yeah. I competed at Pleasant. I won Pleasanton one year. I've competed, Matt was in the pro class. I was in a master, so I didn't start till I was in my 40s, but I won the world championship as a 40-plus-year-old guy. And I know Matt well. In fact, Matt came to my games in New Mexico and set an American record with one of my weights. And so I know Matt quite well. But yeah, I used to do that stuff. I did it for about 7 years. I won world championship, several national championships, set a world record, and had fun with that. So it's a lot of fun. I haven't done it in a while, but sometimes it gets me. Every once in a while, I look at the weights and think maybe I ought to go out there and throw those again. I might jump out and do a local competition. There's a big one here in where I'm at now in Seattle, but I've competed in a number of games in California. And the Pleasanton ones is regarded as one of the biggest ones in the U.S. for sure. It's a good game. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, like I said, Hawthorne came over here one time, and he also competed a few years back, and I thought that was pretty good, pretty cool just to see the mountain out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually lived in Bremerton over there in Washington, and I also lived in Mason County at a place called Shelton. It was the Christmas tree capital of the United States. It's or at least it was when I was there. I don't know if it still is, but I'm pretty familiar with the area out there, especially the ferry system because I always found it a little odd out there.
Yeah, I stayed on Whidbey Island for a while, and we were, having to deal with the ferry just about every day, and so you kind of got used to that. But I mean, some of it was, I go to another island, I find out, the ferry only runs every 4 hours. So oh man, I got to sit there for
exactly.
They had an issue. I mean, for the last couple of years, because a lot of people they weren't able to employ them due to the pandemic. So it was backed up for hours and hours. So that was a tough thing to try to avoid it.
Yeah, that ferry system's pretty vital out there. It's just so crazy. And, just out in that Bremerton area that I was at the Kipsack County, it was just, like I said, living at the first time it snowed out there, I just never went outside after that. I was like, I'm just going to stay inside.
It's kind of getting used to that weather again. I lived in, for the last 25 years, I'd been in kind of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Kind of got spoiled with the warm weather. Prior to that, I lived in Wyoming in the Midwest, and so moving back up to the cold was a little bit of a shock to the system. But I'm adapting, so
that's good.
It's 50s and it feels warm to me today, so it's not too bad.
Oh yeah, Well, I want to dive right into what I wanted to get you on the show about. Back in October of 2021, I actually had a heart attack,
Okay.
and I had a full blown 100% blockage heart attack. It's not your typical heart attack. I had caught COVID, and it was just blood clots. I'm in pretty good health. I have no problems or issues. I have a pre-existing condition where the aorta valve in my heart is opened up like a reverse funnel. So it causes, at least this is how it was explained to me. They said it causes blood turbulence. So it makes my blood spin into my heart that causes blood clots. And so this is actually my second heart attack. The first one I had was blockage, but with the the blood clot buster and all that stuff, it cleared it. But on the second one, when I had got it, like I said, is something I didn't know was if you get the flu or if you get COVID, it's just preconditioned. What they told me is it's gonna cause blood clots and you're gonna, it's potential for heart attack, which, like I said, never was explained to me or anything like that. I just knew people were getting sick and, with COVID and stuff like that. And I just wasn't expecting it because like I dealt with it 7 days and it was done. I was cleared. I was getting ready to get off. And then all of a sudden, just because I had the first heart attack, I understood what the feeling was of having this heart attack. So like I said, I had to get 3 stents in the heart from it. And I was literally in the hospital for a total of 5 days. They sent me home. I'm perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. I have no issues or problems. But, with having a heart attack, insurances want you to go through programs. And the program that they wanted me to go through was this dietary program. And, I had to have this consultation with this nutritionist. And the nutritionist all, let's talk about this. I basically explained how I eat. And, the majority of my life, I didn't really know what I was doing until I heard you on Joe Rogan. I heard a couple other, podcasts talking about what carnivore was, but the majority of my food was always just basically a meat, cheese, and somewhat vegetable diet. I'm saying? It was always pretty low carb. And, I just always felt better just eating red meat. Red meat's always given me the best feeling I've ever had. So the majority of everything I eat is ground beef. And then I have steaks here and there. And then I do have pork and chicken, in between, certain days or if I'm feeling a certain way. But as I'm explaining this to this nutritionist, they're like, you can't eat like that. You need to have this vegan diet. And I told her, I like to maintain a 300-pound weight. I'm 6'5", and 300 pounds is basically my strong, I feel comfortable. I can breathe. I'm not out of breath and I feel the strongest. And they're like, well, that's not, I'm like, well, it's hard to explain because I'm like, the point I'm getting across is I explained to did you even look at my charts? I'm saying, as a nutritionist or as a doctor, did you look at what my blood panel, my blood work and all because, when you get a heart attack, you get the full workup. And so she said no. And so she's trying to preach to me about this, vegetable vegan diet of you need to eat like this. I'm like, but you didn't even you just questioned me, but you didn't even look at what any of my blood work or any of my charts said that I'm perfectly healthy. I just have a precondition. And then she goes off to tell me, well, almost 90% of everyone, not even 90, I think she said 95% of everyone she talks to, well, they eat fast food and fried chicken and all this stuff. But the thing is, I was like, you just assumed that. You just assumed because I had a heart attack that this is who I am. You know what I'm saying? And it just always seems to feel like that's the preconception of what people always have when someone has a heart attack like this, or like I said, it's just so weird. But the thing is nobody knows. Not nobody knows. What it is the vast majority of unknowledgeable people not knowing what it is to be a carnivore or to eat meat the right way or to even just think of a different diet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of just kind of sort of bias towards a vegetable heavy diet and avoiding saturated fat at all costs. So that's a justification. And to be fair, I mean, most people that do have heart attacks do end up eating junk food, and that's tend to what they do. And so, but is it the meat that's causing that? I don't think it is. I think it's a combination with all of this stuff. Now, in your particular situation, what you're describing sounds like mitral valve regurgitation, which, like you mentioned, causes weird blood flow, which leads to clotting, and sometimes you'll be put on blood thinners for that. Interesting cardiovascular disease. Some people will maintain it is a disorder of clotting, and then basically a clot starts to form due to injury to the vessel. So when you get inflamed, like you have an infection, it may cause a generalized inflammation, which causes damage to the vessels, which then leads to a beginning of a clot, which then later turns into atherosclerosis or the blockages, and down the road that leads to heart disease. And so when we look at the risk factors for heart disease, LDL cholesterol, as it turns out, is becoming a relatively smaller factor. It's not that it's not a factor, but its overall impact is much smaller than compared to things like being diabetic or pre-diabetic or being obese or smoking or having hypertension. So when you look at the overall picture, it's like, well, what are the important things and how can I modify those things? And going on a carnivore diet, for instance, most people lean out, most people improve their blood glucose, most people see their inflammation go away, most people see their blood pressure normalize. Their cholesterol can do, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. That's variable. But I think when we look at the biggest risk factors, it generally improves those things. Even, so I am very comfortable with that relationship, and I'm happy to, eat, like I eat, I've got two big old, I got 5 pounds of Tomahawk steak cooking right now for later today. So yeah, but then, I'm 6'5" as well. And I was at a time 300 pounds when I was competing Highland Games. I was 290. And when I was powerlifting, I was over 300 for a little period of time. And so I'm these days, I hang out about 245, 250, which works well for me for what I do these days. So, but anyway, I get your point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, I want to have this podcast because, like, the majority of my listeners, they understand that I eat this style, because I always talk about it, and I'm always cooking, I'm always, grilling and so you can't eat this much meat. But the thing is I've almost want to just kind of bring awareness to a carnivore diet, carnivore style because, you got carnivore, keto. And the thing that I love so much about everything because I've gone back and I've listened to quite a bit of your podcast. One of my favorite ones is what you did with Mark Bell on the Power Project, you and the Carnivore MD. And you guys, he's more grass-fed, like, you got to have the highest quality, but you're like, look, get the meat where you can get the meat. And that's the thing is, like, you hear carnivore, you just automatically assume, like, I got to eat grass-fed, I got to eat grass-finished, I got to eat this high-quality meat to be able to utilize this diet. But you always talk about, like, look, you get what you can afford. And that's what I really want to talk about. That's what I really want to get across the board to everyone that's listening to this podcast is carnivore diet is maintainable for everyone. And even how you do, like, eat when you're hungry, eat the meat when you're hungry. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is how strict do you have to be with this? Because like I said, if I had to say how strict I am with my carnivore diet, I'm going to say I'm about like almost 80% strict to how I eat. And it helps me maintain my weight, my food, and then I can also satisfy certain cravings that I get that I wouldn't normally get if I'm just only 100% carnivore. Okay,
so I mean, to the first point, do you need to eat a grass-fed diet to get the benefits? No, clearly you don't. The data I've got data on 12,000 people that shows that really there's no difference in outcomes as far as people getting off medications, getting healthier, feeling better. A Harvard University study that came out in 2021, looking at 2,000 people, basically saw the same thing, no difference between grass finished and grain finished. And I know that makes a lot of people upset and shocks people, but it is what it is. That's the way it is. And there's not a lot of literature out there, unfortunately, that shows that grass finished is superior for human health. Now, there are more, you can make arguments that there's more certain vitamins and conjugated linoleic acid and things like that on the grass-fed side, but then you can make an argument, well, there's more monounsaturated fat on a grain-fed side. So it's really an issue that I think is kind of minor when it comes to human health. Now, from an environmental standpoint, we can make arguments that regenerative agriculture, to be specific, not just grass-finished, is better for the environment, or at least better for the local environment. And I think that's clear. But I mean, if your only goal is I want to get healthier and I want to get off medications, I want to lose weight, you can eat whatever. And I've seen that consistently. And I eat both. Sometimes I have grass finished, sometimes I don't. There's no, I don't think anybody should feel bad about that because, some people can't afford it. Now, To be fair, I mean, I got a grass finished cow from a butcher here, from a local rancher here, and it was, it was like $6 a pound for, 300 pounds of meat. So that's not a, half cow, and it's not that expensive to do it that way. But some people don't have a big, 20-foot freezer to cubic foot freezer to stick a cow in. And so do what you can. I mean, with that regard. And the second question, which I just forgot what you'd said, but what was the second part of that question?
It's even I forgot about it. I'm just like in completely tune with what you're saying. But the thing is like just how you said, like, having grass fed and doing regenerative farming, which I'm in the process of switching over, because like I said, I've grown up poor, and my life is slowly changing, so it's increasing in my resources of what I'm able to afford. And the thing is I was eating nothing but Walmart meat, and people always do look down on that. And the thing is like, look, it's what I can afford. You know what I'm saying? At the moment in time, I was a single dad, 4 kids, taking care of all of us. And the thing is I'm like, I would eat as much as I could my way, and then I would never force, like, like the kids aren't going to want to eat steak. The kids aren't going to want to eat, ground beef all the time. So, they have a different variety of food. But the thing is like, I would get what I could afford, and then, do what I can for them. And it's just that, like, I just want, like, the main thing I want to talk about is, like, the health benefits of this and understanding that it's maintainable.
Yeah. I remembered your other question now. And your point about the Walmart, I know a lot of people that all they can afford is Walmart or Sam's Club, and they do great. I mean, they are literally, that's all they can afford. They're on a tight budget, and they have had tremendous health benefits. So I don't think anyone should look down on anyone because of what you can afford or can't afford. As far as the strictness aspect, as you mentioned, is 80% fine. It depends on the person. For some people, like, some people that have, like, sort of significant autoimmune issues or significant gut issues, they need to be very, very strict for at least for a period of time, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and then they can kind of move things back in. And so with regard to the strictness, it kind of depends on what your goals are and what your results are. If you are at your goal weight and you're happy and your health is good and you're doing 80% meat and 20%, I would prefer you eat kind of whole foods, maybe it's fruits and vegetables rather than junk food. Then that's probably fine for most people. Quite truth be told, most people that do this diet, you ask them a year later, they're often 90%, and they're mixing a few other things in there. I think that's just fine. But like I said, if for some reason you're not making progress, or you're not making the goal you want, or you're still having some kind of pain or inflammation, then sometimes continuing to get stricter and stricter is a pretty good solution there. So it kind of depends on what your response is.
And that's the thing too, is like how you talk about how you have to be strict on the diet when you first start out, just for a little bit, just to kind of gauge what changes in your body, and then when you can start adding in. But the thing, like IBS, depression, it'll help, like, literally chemically balance yourself almost to a point where, like I said, you can get off certain medications. And that's the thing too, is like, people never think that food can do this, and that how beef can actually do this. Because I don't know how I grew up understanding that you can't eat this much red meat because it's going to mess you up, and that's not the case.
It does not appear to be the case. I mean, the assumption is because there's so many people eating what's called a standard American diet, which if you look at it, the average American is eating about 56 pounds of red meat or beef a year, which is only about 2 ounces a day. So you think about it. If we're only eating 2 ounces a day, how is that messing up our health when 60% of our diet is ultra processed junk food? And really, that's the real problem here. And so we always see that, most meat eaters are people going to McDonald's and eating, French fries and Cokes and apple pies and, Frosties and shakes or whatever you get from the different fast food places. And really, that's probably the big problem. And so the question would be, well, how do we sort that out? Well, if you look at people that eat pretty much just meat, the studies are starting to show, like I said, I mentioned this study from Harvard University. I've got data. There's been a few other reports in the literature. Every single study on a carnivore diet shows people get healthier. Every single one of them. The traditional societies that we look at, whether it's the Inuit, up in the polar regions, the Nene in Siberia, and the Sami in northern Scandinavia, or the Nilotic Africans like the Maasai and the Dinka, or the Mongolians, or the Argentinian gauchos or Southern Brazilian gauchos. All those people were very lean, strong, free of disease. And I mean, I think that's a more better reflective of what meat does for you. Now, when you add meat plus junk food, all bets are off, because I think that's a problem. I think the junk food messes us up so much that anything you add to that diet it can often be problematic.
No, definitely. And I went through your website over like the week, and it's Rivero.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Rivero.
this is could you talk a little bit, because like I said, I know it's to help get you started and to give you access to the points that you offer to really help people like learn this.
Yeah, so Rivero is a company we founded, myself and a co-founder, out of one of the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Our goal is to reverse disease, and we're doing that consistently and very regularly with just about almost any disease you can think about, whether it's mental health disease, autoimmune disease, joint disease, skin diseases, digestive diseases. We're doing that. That's our mission. We've done that for thousands of people now. We are scaling at this point, hiring physicians. We'll soon be, on employer health plans down the road. That's our goal. We've raised $5 million from, people that have been benefited from this, and venture capital folks. So that's what we do. Currently, its current iteration is a carnivore-based approach, but that won't be our final solution. We'll have a number of other things that'll be part of that. But that having a supportive environment, having education, having resources makes a big difference. I mean, it's clear when you go on a diet and everybody's telling you stop, you're going to kill yourself, it beats you down. And when you find out that, hey, no, wait a minute, this is a science behind it. These are the people who have gotten better, and they're very encouraging. That makes a huge difference. So for people starting out and wanting to do this, Rivero, and that's REVERO, .com is a very useful resource. We've also got, if you go to just carnivore.diet, that's another website that kind of takes you to a similar place where it's more fully carnivore focused. So carnivore.diet is a good place to go.
I'll put those links in the notes, because like I said, this is the benefit that I've gotten from having this carnivore diet and this carnivore style. Like it like I said, it's changed me, because like I never, like, the way I look now looks not like the 300 pounds that I am now was not the 300 pounds that I looked when I was at my eating everything under the sun. The body composition, it just metamorphed into a much larger, in shape person that's way more healthy. Because there's you can't say a healthy 300, and you can't say but a 300 pounds at unhealthy is a lot different than how I look right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the muscle growth, the slenderness, like I was completely bloated. Like I said, a complete 180 from when I started eating carnivore. And this is like, it's like subconscious. I didn't even understand, but the literature and just basically the podcast that you've done has helped hone what I'm doing. And so like, I just want to like somehow help people understand that this is very manageable. It's nothing's easy in life, but the thing is this is something that anyone can achieve. And I want to give all access that they can, you know what I'm saying? Because I come from a heavy Latino community, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in the Bay Area, and the standard diet is rice, beans, tortillas, and and it's always have heavy meat in it. But the thing is it's like all the other stuff in it. And just by eliminating certain things out of the diet, and just it can prolong our lives, because like I said, heart disease, cholesterol, all this stuff, it runs heavily in the Latino community. And it's just something I would definitely like to just share with everybody here, and like I said, it almost feels revolutionary to me, because like I said, it's just something that I never grew up understanding or knowing. And I just appreciate everything that you've done, you know what I'm saying? And especially just putting out the work,
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think, regardless of where your background is, and, I understand, the diet, the Latino diet, does often contain meat. It was kind of interesting. One of the boxers, Canelo, Alvarez, just went vegan, and he unfortunately lost.
Yeah.
Last night. Had a role in that. Clearly it does. I mean, everybody that kind of witnessed it, he was flat. He was, didn't have any power, snap, or endurance. But when we look at health, I mean, you have to understand, you can't just look at one number and say this is what defines health. And so being leaner, having more muscle is protective. It's going to protect you from heart disease, and not only just heart disease, but it's also diabetes and dementia, Alzheimer's disease, erectile dysfunction, fragility, bone fractures. All these things are really important. And the diet that gets you there is a good diet for you. And I would say, like you said, you notice a big body recomposition. I'm 55. I'm lean, I'm strong, I maintain muscle. It's going to help me. It's going to help me be functional. It improves my quality of life, and it's going to protect me from disease, and probably it'll allow for a long life. I mean, that's I think really we got to look at quality of life. I think if we only focus on cholesterol, it is a really, really detrimental thing. We know that just worrying about cholesterol, so low cholesterol is associated with worse brain function as we age. Low cholesterol can be associated with a 7 times increase in suicidality. Low cholesterol correlates with depression. Low cholesterol correlates with not being able to put on as much muscle. Low cholesterol has been shown to be associated with different cancers. And so it's not just think about cholesterol in the terms of the only thing it does is cause heart disease, because it has a very important role. And an immunological role. We know with people that had COVID, people that had low cholesterol had worse outcomes. They're more likely to get sick, be hospitalized, and die. So I think we just have to reframe that. And some people are willing to do that. Some people, I mean, there's as you may know, there's a media-backed narrative. Pharmaceutical companies are largely responsible for much of this. And so we're being told to, we need to stop eating meat. We need to start eating plant-based. We need to maybe start eating bugs and whatever. And it's not good for people. And I think more people need to understand that and wake up to that and look in the mirror. And I mean, because you know how you feel, how you look. These are important markers, and you shouldn't be. I mean, it's not that you should ignore labs, but you should understand overall context and overall picture what it means to be healthy, and what quality of life it's about. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all. That's important to all of us.
No, that definitely is. And, a subject I'd like to talk is about inflammation. What I'm saying? The dramatic inflammation, being inflamed. Most people most people live with inflammation and not even know what it really is. And, that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed when I've changed my diet is like the lack of stiff, sore, and just this nasty, bloated, sluggish feeling from inflammation. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us live with it just thinking it's normal.
Yeah, inflammation, and again, when it comes to heart disease, inflammation has a pretty significant role there. I think the development of that starts with inflammation, inflamed blood vessels. And so if you've got achy joints and your guts hurt and you're all bloated, that's inflammation. It affects your brain, it affects every part of your body. And so when you get older and you're like, oh, my back's hurting, or my knees are hurting, that's an inflammatory. It's not just wear and tear of the joint. We're finding that a lot of that is due to inflammatory, we call them inflammatory cytokines, which come from fat tissue and just general metabolic, poor health. And you can lower that. And what most people find when they go on a carnivore-based diet, that their inflammation dramatically gets better. And so they don't feel as old. They just feel like, well, I feel younger again. And that's a legitimate thing. And it's really important. And it does protect you from sort of the diseases of lifestyle and aging. So yeah, inflammation is a very important marker of problems.
No, definitely. And I want to switch gears a little bit. I follow your social media posts, and I love the videos of you just eating a steak while you're seeing someone prepare a vegan meal. And it's something that just, it always makes me laugh, because like there's so much effort that these people put into making food taste like meat, and yet the option is there. But like I said, people are gonna be vegan. I got a real good friend of mine. He's vegan. He actually comes on my show every so often. We talk. I discuss my side and how I'm eating and how I'm feeling, and he discusses his side, and we go back and forth. And he made his vegan diet change for medical reasons, and I'm like, that's it is what it is. You have a great time. His name's Brian Brumley. I'm just gonna shout him out right now. He's a good friend. I know he's gonna listen to this podcast. But and I always have a good time with them. But the thing is you get there's a different side of veganism that is very toxic. And the thing is like it's so weird because like there's going to be good and bad on a good and bad people regardless of what they do and what they believe in. But the thing is you seem to almost want to attract those crazies out there that are going to just try to poke at you for what you're doing. And like I said, I always find it comical because it's just hilarious because like when you watch these videos, it's just like you want to eat meat, but you're just not eating meat.
Well, let me just say, I think probably most vegans, most people I've met in person, been wonderful people, nice people, and most of them probably are. But yeah, there is an element. Some of the activists, some of the people that are very aggressive. To be fair, most of what I get on social media is a lot of people saying, "Thank you, I feel better. You've helped my health." I get the occasional vegan that wishes you were dead or some nonsense like that. And, so I just kind of poke fun at those guys. And I think, I don't care what somebody eats. You should be able to eat whatever you want. And there's people that want to force us to eat a certain way. No, we don't want you eating meat because we don't like the way our perception or our beliefs are. And that's like saying we're going to force everybody to be in the same religion or akin to that. And so I think that's something we have to push back against. And, like I said, when I started in this thing, I went on Rogan's podcast, a few years ago, I got a lot of attention, and it was a lot of the vegans, they pointed me as, enemy number one or something like that. It wasn't my intention, but I got such hatred from these guys. So I said, well, I'm just not going to sit there and take this. And so I'm just as happy. And usually it's humorous and it's funny and it's goofy. And as social media is, a lot of it is just
perception,
entertainment. Yeah. And because if I just put up studies all the time and just talk about this is what study that shows this, most people are going to tune out. They're going to get bored. And so the way to get a bigger audience and to actually make a difference and to at least get people to think a certain way is you have to sort of provide that little entertainment aspect. And so that's the social media start of it. And some of it's funny. I mean, it's kind of some, it's just funny. And I think if some people need a sense of humor, and some of them don't. Some don't have a good sense of humor. But anyway,
no, it is true. Like I said, I got I like to say I have a good sense of humor, but I always find it hilarious and funny because I said I look at the post, I'm like, because you're doing what I'm thinking. And so it's like it's just then I always show my wife, like, check, and she's just like, she looks at me, rolls her eyes up, like, I don't want to see that. But it's like when you're trying to show like this is funny, and she's like, you think it's funny? I'm like, I do think it's funny.
Well, some people do, and like I said, I'm eating a steak, and it's like and they're spending 3 hours making a blob of barbecued bread. I mean, and it's just kind of like
yeah. Well, with training regimens and stuff like that, because you have a phenomenal physique, like I said, and being able, because I know you bulked up and now you're bringing it back down, but and bulking on carnivore, how much more difficult it is to pack in the calories and the protein to actually bulk to back to, because I think you said you got like 295.
Well, I mean, at my highest ever, I was at 305. That was before carnivore. That was back in the, but I mean, I think I got up to 260 recently, just purely with meat. I got all the way down to below 210 and went up to 260 in about 3 months. So about 50 pounds in 3 months just on meat. For me, it's not hard because I can eat 6-7 pounds of meat a day. I can do that. For many people, it's difficult though. I mean, because what happens is, meat is very satiating. Protein is particularly satiating, and we know that carbohydrates, for instance, tend to blunt the satiety response. And so there's a couple hormones, cholecystokinin, peptide YY, ghrelin, that are impacted by carbohydrates to a way that you don't feel as full, and so you eat more. And that's why guys like Sam Efferding and who trains, he's done the nutrition for Thor and some of those guys, he includes a lot of carbohydrates in their rice, and he puts dextrose in the rice because it stimulates the appetite. So if you have a trouble eating enough, it's going to be hard. But I mean, as long as you're eating enough calories and taking enough protein, and then obviously if you want to bulk up muscular wise, you got to do the training. You got to put in the hard work. That's probably the biggest thing, is doing the hard work. That's all you need to do. Some people need to increase their meal frequency. Some people, carnivore salad, some people put some dairy in there. Dairy is easy to pack in. Liquid calories are easy to put in a lot of extra calories that way. So that's one way to do that. But for me, it's not hard. For some people it is. And, it's just a matter of getting used to being able to eat like I'm sure you can eat a lot. I mean, when I was,
Oh yeah.
when I was 300 pounds, I had, 3 entrees at a restaurant plus 2 appetizers
Yeah.
plus a dessert or 2. That would be my typical going out. I mean, you'd spend a lot of money but I mean, I was definitely throwing down the calories, 8,000-9,000 calories some days. And,
Oh yeah.
it's
No,
just,
no.
it's
And,
just a lot, I
eh,
don't do that anymore, but I can if I need to.
um, and this is probably back 2015 for me before I made the switch over to carnivore, where it was a lot of carbohydrate. I used to I have friends that do professional wrestling, and so I didn't wrestle. I would just go with them to shows when they were local. I'd pick them up, drop them off, and go with them. And so after the show, you get a Denny's run, and so we're at a Denny's, and the waitress comes up, and I order well, most people don't know this is Denny's actually has a limit on all you can eat pancakes. 7 pancakes is the limit.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the reason I know this because I've done it many times, and I order like 6 meals at that time because at that moment in time I was eating about 10,000 calories to get up to my size, and so I order all my food, and then the waitress walks away, and my friends are like, "Hey, wait, that was just his." And the waitress is like, "There's no," so it'd be better tip on if I was going to eat all my food or not. And so, unfortunately for her, she didn't get a tip, but I still gave her a little something. But it was just hilarious because she was just like, oh, wait, huh?
Yeah, no, I've had those days, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that stuff it catches up with you. Unfortunately,
No, it does, and it's one of the main reasons why I made the switches because, with because when I was doing bodybuilding and trying to get that size and maintain that size, I didn't know there was an easier way. I just knew what bro science was, and that was actually something I wanted to talk about. Is like, everything starts off with bro science, but the thing is like with your training regimen. Do you do a split or are you like one part a day or are you doing full body workout?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not bodybuilding. So, I mean, that's first of all, so my goals are very different. My focus right now is on jujitsu. So, I mean, I'm training for that mostly. So I'm really concerned about my overall conditioning, maintaining a decent amount of strength. And I do a lot of it still explosive work. Like from the Highland Games, I was very explosive throwing stuff. You have to be very quick and fast. And so I do, I just kind of maintain things. If I feel like I'm lacking on something, if I haven't deadlifted in a while, I'll do a little deadlift cycle where I'll spend, a month doing some deadlifts, progressing back up to where I want to be. And I just kind of constantly doing that, but I don't have a focus, with regard to weight training right now. I mean, I just make sure I get like every week, I like to make sure I do some strength work, some hypertrophy work. I do plenty of conditioning, and then I do some degree of what I call explosivity training, where it's jumping, plyometric type stuff, throwing med balls, exploding. That's my sort of goal for the week, is to try to get some of that in all week long. And then every once in a while I'll get like, hey, I think I want to deadlift this, I want to pull 405 for 20 reps or something like that.
Yeah.
Play with that. So yeah.
You and Stan Efferdine going head to head. I seen the video. I was like, man, Stan is strong though. But you got him though.
Well, I hung with him. I mean, we were pretty close. I mean, Stan actually got me by a rep or two, but yeah, I mean, he's, we're both in our 50s, and I'm 55, he's 54. And, I'm happy to be able to still be able to do that stuff. And I think the diet largely, and as you probably know, Stan is a big proponent of red meat as well. And, yeah. I think it does have an impact. It does help. It helps you to maintain your strength. It's a superfood. Beef is a superfood as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's probably one of the real true superfoods out there, for if we want to call things superfoods. And it has so many benefits. It's so beneficial to our overall health. It's just not eating the junk food. If you eat a bunch of meat and not junk food, you're going to be on a really good diet.
And it's the truth, because like I said, I'm doing, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like a lot of times when I say I'm at that 80% where I'm like on the weekends when the kids come, they want to go out to eat. And even though we go out to eat and they want to enjoy food, I let them enjoy what they're eating, but I still get within what's in my realm. You know what I'm saying? It might have a little more sugar on it or some sauce on it. And I'm like, it is what it is. But that, that's what I'm talking about. It's like having that maintaining where it's like, it's still within the realm of what you're doing. And it like going out to eat is not impossible. And, you just gotta find your workarounds. And God damn it, I love, like, do you prefer loose ground beef or do you prefer like hamburger patty style?
It depends. I mean, truth be told, I eat a lot of steak. You know, being kind of the meat guy, I get a lot of steaks sent to me. You know, ranchers just send me steaks.
Nice.
I'm eating steaks all the time, but I mean, I'll eat both. I mean, like when I'll go, like if I'm traveling, I'll just go to I'll pull up the Wendy's and say, give me 12 burger patties. You know, just straight up burger patties, and I'll just eat that, and that's great. That it tastes really good. At home, sometimes I'll grind up some ground beef, throw a little taco seasoning, maybe throw a little shredded cheese on there, and that'll be a nice meal. That's not something I eat very often, but I maybe throw an egg in there too, and
Yeah.
that's a nice way to do it. But yeah, I mean, anything. I mean, I like it all. It's really good.
No, trust me. And with seasoning steaks, what is your go-to, or is there like a seasoning company that, or not even seasoning company, but a seasoning brand that you prefer over anything else?
Honestly, I just mostly use salt, and so I don't use a lot of rubs or seasonings. I mean, I've gotten to where I just like the taste of meat and a little salt on there, and that's probably 95% of what I use. I mean, there's been a couple companies where I've tried their spices and seasoning, like for instance, for a brisket, I'll put a little bit more on the brisket. I might do salt, pepper, garlic. Occasionally I'll make something and I'll do it for the family, and sometimes it'll be different. I think the Bearded Butchers have a brand. There's a guy named Caribbeque. It makes that a brand. I think there's guys that Cluck and Squeal. So that's what's in my cabinets right now, and I use them once in a while. I'm just not a big spice guy for steaks. I think if you got a good cut of meat, that's what you want to taste, in my view. I mean, that to me is what it does. I don't necessarily want to taste. My girlfriend likes it smoked, so she likes all her steaks on a smoker. So I put every one of her steaks on a Traeger and smoke it, and she likes that. I prefer mine just to taste the meat with a little salt, and I'm happy.
I just got the Bearded Butcher, the Brock Lesnar seasoning.
Okay, I haven't tried that one, but I know he's been working with those guys a little bit. I see him on social media. So
that Brock Lesnar one, it's a little goes a long way. I'm a big wrestling fan, big WWE fan. So as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh no, I'm getting that. I'm gonna try it. And the first go around, usually like with certain seasonings, you just kind of just pack it on. This one, you don't pack it on. You just basically almost like if you're just salting something, you know what I'm saying? Just a nice little coating, and that's it.
Oh, got it. Nice.
Oh yeah. And I don't want to hold you for too much longer, but if you're gonna cook a steak, are you talking about propane, charcoal, or do you have a certain way you like to get down?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of different methods out there. I mean, for a number of reasons. One is keeping the kitchen clean. I do everything out on the grill and so I often, like particularly bigger steaks, I'll do something called sous vide, and so I'll basically bring them to about a nice 130-degree temperature, so it's completely cooked to medium rare. And then I've got a grill. It's called the Outer Wild grill, and it goes to 1,500 degrees. And so I just put it in there for a minute on hot, sear both sides, flip it, 1 minute each side. And that's perfect, man. That's a beautiful steak. In fact, I've got 2 tomahawks right now that are sous vide. And then I've got a podcast. One of my buddies coming over to a podcast, and we're going to eat steaks afterwards. So
nice. I'm a big smoker of meat. So I use pellet smokers. I switched over from charcoal smoking to a propane style to getting the pellet fed, and Pitboss has won my business. I got a smoker, and I got a used smoker, and like a part broke. I reached out to them, and they were literally like, hey, it's still coming under warranty, even though you didn't purchase it. Here's the part, free shipping. Don't even worry about it. And I was like, you guys are forever in my heart for my smoking needs, because I have a vertical smoker, and then I actually have a small smoker. So because on the weekends, like when it's just me and my wife, ribs are my favorite. So I'll buy a pack of beef ribs, throw them in two racks, cook them up for maybe about like almost 10 hours. So they have that nice crisp, they fall apart. And I always love the short beef ribs. They're literally like 3-inch ribs, little bit of seasoning on them. And when they have that crunch on them, but yet they just fall off the bone, that's my go-to right there on the weekends, where no kids, just me and the wife. We're yard work outside with the dogs, and and then let them cook all day. And oh my God, it's just like I said, that's always been my biggest go-to.
Perfect. We've got yeah, like I said, briskets. That's what I like. I like smoke for briskets, tri-tip, stuff like that. That's my thing. And I've got, brisket's a project though. It's usually a 12, 14, 16-hour deal, depending how big the thing is. So you got
It's the
you
truth.
got to be willing to get up early in the morning and do a brisket, I think.
Yes.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., something like that to put it on. But yeah, man, that's great. Yeah, smokers are great. Like I said, it depends on the cut of steak, and it's just lots of ways to cook meat, man, and all of it can be good.
All of it can be good. And you know what? I just want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for coming on this podcast. And like I said, it's just I want to spread the awareness in my own way of helping people change their lives. And you coming on here, hopefully someone hears this and understands that they're like, this is manageable. It is easy. And guess what? You can easily change your life by just trying something different.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, if you want, and again, it's tough to convey everything, all the information, because a lot of people have questions and doubt. Just go to Rivero and look at our success stories. I mean, we literally have thousands of people that have changed their lives dramatically, and you'll probably find somebody that's in a similar situation to what you are. I mean, we literally categorize by issue, whether it's arthritis or gut disease or mental health disorders, and you can just literally read testimonial after testimonial that have literally changed their life, and it's real stuff. I mean, it's really working, and I'm very excited to be able to get people healthier. It makes me a happy person. So it's a good way to contribute to society, I guess.
Oh yeah. And for everyone, I'll put all the links in the notes for everything for Dr. Shawn Baker, for Rivero, for carnivorediet.com. I'll put all that in the notes so you guys can go check it the fuck out. And so guess what? With that being said, I'm the Angry Motherfucking Dad. You want to watch my shit? IGTV, YouTube. You want to listen to it? Spreaker, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, SoundCloud, Deezer, iHeartRadio. This motherfucker's everywhere. You can easily fucking find it. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and all that fucking bullshit. And I'm also part of the Inner Circle Podcast Network, group of powerful podcasters out there sharing their shit. That is innercirclepn.com. We'll take you to every websites, every one of our shows, and all that good shit. We have shows as Creatures of the Night, The Hood Diner, The Untrained Diet, The Plunge, Failing Hollywood, Simmons and More podcast. Shit happens when you party naked. It's too hot for the internet, so it has to be on Patreon at Patreon/Team Elmy. So make sure you go check it the fuck out. And guess the fuck what? We'll see y'all motherfuckers on the next one. Fuck.
Always living, always living, always living, always living, always living, always living.